we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, on infiltration instead of invasion, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. There is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
All right, welcome to episode 88 of the Abuse Hour. It is I, your host, Coffee Long, coming to you unsupervised, unmedicated, and an unchecked threat to society. Rolling hard in the mobile Doomsday Studio. Today's going to be a quick type episode. I got fish to fry. Dude, I just got back from some unholy, unsavory trip. Sweating like a runaway slave. It's not a way to live your life. But, I got back and I got less than 24 hours and then doing a quick turnaround. But I wanted to get a little something out to follow up on some stuff that some people had mentioned in the chat. So today I want to hit on dealing with a proper interrogation and then start to touch on like a bailout, escape, on the run type plan. Again, not getting too far in the weeds with that, but wanted to give a little something. And hey, and for all you badge holders listening, I would never say anything about this, being in the States. I would never talk about doing this stuff in America, the land of the free. I would only honestly ever talk about doing any of these kind of things in places where an oppressive regime makes it a crime to complain about, say, your daughter being raped or someone in your family being knife murdered by a truck of peace or some sort of thing. So please don't misconstrue this as anything other than love, peace, hair grease, mom, apple pie, lowriders, and whatever, cheap washing machines. All right. Anyway, so let's get a quick round the world. What the fuck's going on out there? I just listened to, you want to fucking laugh. I was on this last trip, man, and this dude says to me, like, it's always, I don't know what it is. I mean, I think I'm pretty straightforward generally about my views. I don't keep most of this shit a secret, I mean, I don't completely dump the whole power level, but I'm pretty straightforward with, like, this is what I think is the problem, and this is what I think we should do. I'm not really mincing so many words. I mean, do I sound like a word mincer to you? No, I don't think so. But this dude comes to me and is pitching me like, bro, do you ever listen to Rogan? And I'm like, no, man, I don't listen to fucking Rogan. And if that's your thing, if you enjoy it, if you get some entertainment out of it, please knock yourself out, dude. Listen to 2.5, 3 hours of fucking pitching drugs and alien ideas that always end in, I don't know, like, what the fuck is that? I mean, I'd be super into like show me how exactly these pyramids got built and who built them in ancient civilizations, and tell me a straight fucking story about, like, yeah, man, here's one tiny piece of something I know for absolutely sure that's something you never heard of, but you never hear any of that. All you really hear is like, I don't fucking know. Nobody knows. It's just a trip, right? Yeah, well, what's a trip is that you just pissed away 2 or 3 hours of my fucking life that I could have spent doing literally anything. Getting a fucking stretch, right, would have been a better use of time than listening to this wazoo kind of shit. So in that sense, I think, for my money, we're trying to gain any kind of genuine understanding of anything. Joe Rogan is like the fucking proverbial lobster trap where, like, you get in here, you're just not getting out. You're just going to run in circles and listen to, I don't fucking know, bro, right? It's just fucking, you ever do it when you're high, bro? Like, that's fucking silly. So I'm like, no, I don't listen to fucking Rogan. But the dude is pitching, like, yeah, you got to listen to this one episode, bro. You got to, it's really fucking, I don't really listen to it either. Yes, you fucking do. But yeah, there's this one episode, and I can't remember who the fucking guy said it was with, who he's interviewing or whatever. So I said, yeah, dude, I'll fucking look for it. And this morning, I was standing around with 5 minutes to myself, and I was like, who was that guy saying that I should listen to? And I looked through there, I thumbed through fucking Rogan real quick, and I can't find, I don't know, none of these ring a bell, man. None of this looks interesting, but I mean, once again, all it really is Jewish comedians and UFC fighters, and then some total wazoo motherfucker of like, yeah, bro, fucking aliens, bro, like, okay, and drugs also, bro, okay. But I was thumbing through there, and none of this shit's ringing a bell. But then what do I see? I see Andrew Dice Clay, and I'm like, that fucking guy's still alive? And I thought, like, you know, it's pretty easy to look now, you know, with you know, our perspective, and like, I don't even need early life, right? I don't even need early life to know what's going on here. But I want to listen and just see, dude. Is a guy going to give like a straight story, or is he going to keep up the fucking fake Fonzie act? Or, you know, what? I'll listen, because I want to see what this guy gives away. And as you might expect, like, he don't really give away anything, as it is with these tiny hats. And tiny hat he is. But I'm listening, and like, just the vibe, this very like, I have it so good in a way, it makes me feel so bad, oh God. And I try to help people, but you know, I'm really a take job. I'm kind of this shit. I don't know if you knew that. And I'm like, this guy fucking sucks, dude. But the longer I listen, you know, the more I'm like, yeah, this guy, he's not going to give you any kind of straight answer. He's going to keep up his same fake fuck, faux ass, kosher tough guy, 80s act. And he is an 80s act. If you're, and I guess I should sort of explain who this is. If you are unaware, like the 80s was when these Hebrews really got a stranglehold on the stand-up comedy scene. And they turned this into, I mean, because I guess, you know, a lot of comedy was always very coin clippish. And it was always a little, I want to say, edgy, even for whatever time period you're talking about. So even if you're talking about like the 60s, there was a dude named Lenny Bruce, that obviously Jewish. But, you know, he was like, you know, a couple 4-letter words and this kind of shit. And that was edgy, you know, like, it's not proper funny. Not like Bob Hope funny. Like, that motherfucker was actually funny. But the 80s was when these Hebrews really got their claws into this thing, and it just went, I mean, how can you say it? It went from like, you know, the barbershop quartet kind of thing that you think of like 50s and 60s, straight into like ass sex, prostitution, shooting down you enemy, and what's that fucking thing? Wet ass pussy, this kind of shit, all right? That's where you're at on this. So this is what they did to, you know, anything that's funny. Well, it's got to be about something absolutely degenerate. You know, so this in the 80s was when this really took off, like just stomped on the fucking gas. And there was a guy, kind of the predecessor, if you like, to Andrew Dice Clay, and it was this guy, Sam Kinison. And I guess this guy was a Baptist preacher of some flavor. I don't have the guy's bio in front of me, but I do remember, like, he was a preacher, and he was like just kind of a gifted speaker. Like, he was cool with standing in front of a room, getting the energy going, and that was, you know, this Baptist flavor. And then for whatever reason, whatever went on, he got off the rails on that and got into the stand-up comedy scene, like drank the Kool-Aid. And he'd go out there with this, like an overcoat and a beret. And he would just start, he was this guy, like his whole thing was like a yelling thing. He'd get spun up, like I get spun up, right? But then he's just kind of yelling, like, oh, like just fucking yelling at the crowd. People thought it was fucking hilarious. Like, now you'd be kind of like, oh, this is fucking a dime a dozen. This is kind of cringe. But at the time, like, it was the shit, you know. Holy fuck, man, you see Sam Kinison, this guy's fucking hilarious. So this was when it started becoming like stand-up comedy is super cool and super hip, it's super edgy and this kind of shit. The follow-on to this was the really raunchy era with like this Andrew Dice Clay, and this guy's deal. So the whole deal on this guy's name is, as you might guess, not Andrew Clay. His name is Andrew Clay Silverstein from the Bronx. Was it from the Bronx or Brooklyn? I think it was Brooklyn. From Brooklyn, New York, and used to play the piano in the Catskills for bar mitzvahs. I shit you not. Look at the guy's early life, dude. So this was his cup of tea. So he was born in like I want to say like the early 60s, some kind of shit like this. And this was Andrew Silverstein. This is what he fucking did. And then he morphed into this, he started to go into a little bit of his backstory on the little piece of Rogan that I listened to with this idiot on it. And like his deal was like he got into comedy because he wanted to be an actor. He wanted to be a serious actor. And I'm like, dude, you're not a serious fucking anything. But he wanted to be an actor. And his thinking was that, why not enjoy comedy? Why not step into the comedic arts, whereby one may be on stage every night, and thereby craft one's persona and character? I don't believe you. Normally I would say, like, I'm not calling you a liar, I just don't believe you. This Hebrew, though, no, you are a liar. This is not a serious person, and nobody starts out, I don't think, trying to be a genuine artist and somehow just morphs into dick and fart jokes, which is really about all this guy brought to the table. So this guy's whole shtick was like, he would go out there with this very, like a gay Elvis, if you will. Lots of shiny shit, lots of leather, big fuck off weird haircut. Kind of that it had that, say what you will, Elvis had, for being a druggie and a hillbilly, did have a very cool factor to him, I think, but then compared to something like the Fonz, right, the Fonzarelli, if you're familiar with the old Happy Days tip, that guy, again, Henry Winkler, Jewish, a Hebrew knockoff of the Elvis type persona, there's this very artificial thing to it, and once you see it, it's like everything with these people. The stuff that they do that's a knockoff of something, that you might otherwise enjoy, like, it becomes very apparent the more familiar with it you get. So this guy would go out there and do all manner of, like hand waving and, hey, you motherfuckers, hey, what the fuck are you looking at? How about I come down there in the fucking audience, beat your fucking ass, and I'll bang your bitch for you? How that? You like that? How you like apples? How you like them apples? Like this kind of shit, like just very, very fucking lame, dude. Just kind of cringe and artificial. But people in the 80s, boomers, right? Boomers drank this shit down. Xers drank this shit down. They love this shit. And honestly, when you're a child, when I heard this shit when I was very, very young, I thought it was fucking hilarious too. Because, what isn't hilarious when you're young like that? I used to watch fucking Tom and Jerry and laugh at that shit too. So this guy was no shit, like selling out arenas, big fucking name, all manner of albums and what have you. And to be fair, like the album, the comedy album type shit, that was not a first. There was like Red Fox my dad actually had a Red Fox album, and it was, as you might expect, for Afro comedy. It was kind of chintzy and punish and what have you. Later there was the Richard Pryor records, and that dude, African and all, is still actually pretty funny. Eddie Murphy had some kind of shit like this. Again, he was actually fairly funny. Not funny enough to turn a blind eye to, marrying a blonde woman, like the destruction of otherwise decent jeans. That's the biggest joke of all, probably, where he's concerned. Here, wait one. That was really about as much as I had for the morning. So before we get on to some of the news, here's some more good deals. I'm going to roll the Mobile Doomsday Studio through the car wash, and you get to sit still for that little piece of bonus. Hey, and while I'm doing this, let me take 5 seconds to give a quick thank you to the Nationalist Audio Chat. The dude put up one of these dog shit episodes in that compilation of stuff that he puts on his channel, and I really appreciate it, man. It's very cool. And hey, and this is how I say thank you, is driving you through a car wash. That's the kind of quality audio that I offer here at Abuse Hour, is like dog shit in-car recording coupled with car wash background. It just doesn't get any better. It really doesn't get any better. Alright, so let's wait for some of these like brushes and things to go by, and then we'll resume. Alright, so kind of moving along, I guess. I see on some of my news that the Ukraine disaster continues, but here's the funny bit, is that I think it's the Netherlands. The Netherlands has given permission to Ukraine to use the weapons that they have given them, so in this case F-16s, to strike inside Russia proper. So the reason that this is a catastrophe is because, there's a, you might not think of war as this very legal proceeding, but there are a lot of rules and a lot of laws involved. So I mean, shit, dude, every time I was over there were times we actually had to bring a lawyer with us onto a target, because if some fuckstick says, oh, they violated my civil rights, well, now you got all operations stop and you got to go and explain yourself. But if there was a lawyer there, then they could be like, no, that didn't happen. Okay, work can continue. So yeah, warfare, the modern version anyway, is very much a legal proceeding. So this difference between a self-defense situation and an offensive situation is where like a U.S. or these Western countries can, with a semi-straight face, give Ukraine some weapons and say, here, just defend yourself because we have something that loosely resembles interests here, or because we don't like Russia very much, or what fucking ever. All right, so back to live action. The hitch in the giddy up here is Sergei Lavrov has since come out and said, like, plain and simple, like, you are a child playing with matches. Don't do this shit. Oh, and then went on to say that if America believes that this conflict will never come to their shores, that would be a mistake. So you can kind of get the idea that Russia is not fucking pleased with this shit, and I will tell you, man, like this stands to escalate. But that very much seems to be the agenda, because really the only way that Ukraine pulls out anything out of this, because they're well and truly fucked at this point. I mean, as predicted, the curse thing went completely in the shitter. The fact of the matter was their attempt to do that required them to pull lots of resources away from the front lines, which caused that to weaken and is collapsing ahead of schedule. So now you're losing on two fronts, essentially. So nice job, way to think it through. In any case, yeah, their only real hope is to pull NATO in via Article 5, that, if somehow Russia attacks like the Netherlands or strikes into Poland, if that's where they have these F-16s parked, then that would trigger some kind of Article 5, although that could be very much debatable, because the idea there is like, yeah, if somebody attacks, say, a Poland, or a fucking another NATO country, then every other NATO country would be obliged to jump in. However, if you go out and start shit, like say like a Poland or, fucking France or whatever, France not even a real place anymore, but some NATO country starts shit with, say, a Russia or whoever, that's your fucking problem, man. You started up with these people and it becomes a fight, you're on your fucking own. I mean, I could see it being used as an excuse if NATO wanted a fight, but by the letter of the law, that wouldn't be the case. However, right now, with the U.S. economy in the state that it is in, that is almost the only option. I mean, just like World War II, like, the economy is fucked. Like, what you're doing is not working. And the only thing that's really going to keep this afloat is like a massive upswing in production, the kind of upswing that only really comes with major conflict. So, you be the judge. We'll see how it pans out. Obviously, that's not a preferred option. I mean, I will recommend to everybody, man, if the call comes out, tell them to fuck off. Tell them you ain't home, right? Let it go to voicemail. But I would not fucking answer that call at this point. Anyway, quick, what I wanted to be able to push to you on this episode was, like last time we talked about kind of laying low and keeping low vis. This time I wanted to hit a little bit on what to do if, like, it becomes obvious. Like, you got rolled in the middle of doing something, or maybe you weren't doing anything. You just got rolled up good and proper. You are cuffed up. You are downtown. You have not managed to escape. Maybe we talk about, we can talk through some escape concepts maybe at some point, because that's a sticky situation with just the way everything is now, with everything fucking videoed and tracked, and like, where are you going to fucking escape to? If you got nowhere to escape to, there's almost no fucking point. Anyway, we'll talk through the idea of an interrogation and how that can be managed by you. And then lastly, we'll touch real quick on the idea of hauling ass, bailing out, and a few considerations, but I'd like to do a deeper dive on that so people have something to work with. So, quick, once again, this is for people in the rough countries, the occupied countries, certainly not in any country I would ever inhabit, certainly not in the good old US of A, mom apple pie, baseball and street shitting. I would never advocate for following any of these kind of things. Always obey all local rules, laws, ordinance, federal, state, local, and otherwise at all times. Cool? This is just for entertainment and fucking around. So let's get to it. So interrogation, you got rolled up. The idea of an interrogation, all right? The idea of an interrogation is to get more information to further someone's investigative or prosecutorial ends. That might seem fucking obvious. That might seem painfully obvious to say, like, yeah, you're trying to fuck me. But just like maybe some kind of sports competition when you're fucking gassed and you're like, maybe I just sort of take a breather here and maybe I can still win if I just kind of lay back a little bit. You know that. Like in real life, it doesn't fucking work like that. You got to fucking put out if you're going to win. This other guy's probably putting out. He wants to win too. But in your head, when you're tired and you're smoked, you'll start telling yourself these things. It's the same kind of shit with like an investigation, interrogation, I've been rolled up type deal, all right? It's easy to start believing some of these things of like, fuck, dude, maybe this guy is going to help me. Maybe if I play it real smooth, maybe this, maybe that. A couple things on this. One, you're walking into somebody else's game field. This guy already has a plan. All that time that you're sitting there, a lot of times they're looking at you and there's maybe 2 or 3 people discussing, like, well, how are we going to approach this guy? What are we going to do? All right, so the reason that I know this is this was part of my job in overseas settings is I am the guy, not in a proper setting like the whole room with the chair and the window and the mirror and all this fucking shit. More like just infield at the house where we roll a bunch of people up. It was my job to sift through all these people and like, who's who in the zoo? Is this guy just a farmer? Is this his kid? Who's the fucking guy in the tracksuit? All right, let's figure these things out to sort of sort through all this shit. So I've been on that end of it. I've also been on the end of it where I got rolled up for some shit that honestly I had nothing to do with. I've told some of this story before. I got 86'd out of a country for something I was not present or involved with, but I was still, linked up with the people who, I don't know, presumably were involved with whatever went on. So I got shit canned too. And, there was a whole lot. I sat through a whole lot of interrogations with like, who did you talk to about this? What did you do? Where did you go? What did he say he was going to do? What about this? What about that? All this shit. So I have been on both sides of this. So what I'm telling you is I'm not speculating on this. I'm telling you how this fucking works. All right. The first thing to know then is, like when you get into a spot like this, your brain's going to start looking for that easy way out, all right? And that easy way out often enough is going to be presented to you as, look, man, you help me, I'm going to help you. They're actually just like fighting techniques, like grappling techniques or any kind of shit like this. There are specific techniques that get put in play for an interrogation. So some of the like proper interrogators, like I wasn't like properly trained as an interrogator. I got like passed down from other guys who had done the shit and that I took over for, and stuff that I had read and stuff that I had learned from people who were trained as proper interrogators that, look, this is how this works. Here's some things to do, things to never do, and so on. So the way this works then is there are certain defined techniques. So some of these could be what they call ego up or ego down. So this is like they walk in and treat you like a fucking schnook, like, listen, you little shit, and just start fucking leaning on you. And if you're kind of a weak person or you're real, and that's okay if this fucking situation is over your head and you're like, fuck, dude, I don't know what to make of this. If they see that, they're going to run with that and walk in and like, listen, you little fuck, and like, oh, goddamn. And now they're giving you like the last thing you wanted to see. I just hope they don't walk in and fuck with me. Here they come. And just start beating on you and like, God damn, and just like verbally beating you down, all right? This is called ego down, to like push you down, hold you down, make you feel like shit. Another method is ego up. So if you're already in there and you're big dick swinging and they're going to try to come in and like, listen, you little asshole, and you're like, man, you can fuck off right down the road. Like, this isn't going to fucking work for them. So they have to take a new approach and like, all right, try ego up. So you walk in and like, all right, bro, I can see that you're a serious player. I'm not going to fuck around with you. I know a few things. If you want to fill in the blanks, cool. If not, cool. You want like a coffee or something? And the idea is that you, as the person being interrogated, recognize that they see you as a serious player. You're being recognized and appreciated. Yeah, that's fine, man. And maybe I'm going to deal professionally with these people. We're going to have a serious talk. Once again, they're coming in here with a plan. You have no plan. All right, so you keep your fucking mouth shut. Another method is we already know. Okay, so they're going to walk in here talking about, look, I already know just like that movie, The Matrix. All right, exactly like that. That is that technique. Guy walks in there with a big fucking file. I've done this, dude. I walked into a guy with a big fucking file full of shit that had nothing to do with him. And I had like 1 or 2 pages that was like a bio sheet that got written up on the guy from another time or some kind of shit. And I'm like, all right, look, you could see we know a lot about you. There's just a few things I need to know. And the dude folded right up because he's looking at this huge stack of paper and like, fuck, dude, I'm not going to bullshit this guy. All right. So this is a technique. The thing to remember in a situation like that is that if a motherfucker knows something, if he already knows, he don't gotta ask you. All right. Like if I already know what color toothbrush you got at the house, I'm not going to fucking ask you about your toothbrush, what kind of toothbrush you got. I already fucking know. So the point is, like, long and short, and if you want, you can YouTube, like, different interrogation techniques. I haven't looked, but I'm sure there's some kind of video on it. There's a video on every other fucking thing, so why not that, right? But if you want to take a look, I'm sure there are lots of videos on, like, here's an approach, here's an approach, here's an approach. The bottom line is if they did not need information from you, if there was not something they wanted, they would not be talking to you. Okay, now if you think that there's going to be some deal where like, hey, if you give me this, I'm going to hook you up with this, that, or the other fucking thing. If you've got some kind of thing and this is completely up to you, well, before I get to that, let me caveat with this. Let me say this. You will break at some point, all right? Nobody can hold out forever. That is a fucking fact. And looking at like how these January 6 motherfuckers have been done, do not imagine like, or you know, if you can hold out as long as you can, cool, okay? Do that shit. If you can hold out for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, do that shit. Terrific. You're a hard motherfucker. But like looking at, for instance, these January 6 motherfuckers, all right, getting beaten by foreign contractors, getting beaten and thrown downstairs by fucking Nigerians locked in solitary 23 hours a day. All right. Don't expect yourself to fucking gut that shit out. All right. So what I will say is if it's you who doesn't get rolled up or prior to getting rolled up, do your friends the fucking favor of not giving them a bunch of shit that they have to protect. I got into it with a lot of guys about this shit, about like the use of real names. Like, bro, we should be straightforward. I don't want to be like, you know, why should I have to call you and be like, oh, hi, coffee, oh, hi, coffee. I'm doing you a fucking favor. I'm not going to ever put you in a position where you're like, oh, I got to protect this guy's real name. Coffee, what's his fucking real name? Beating the shit out of you. And you're like, I got to protect Coffee. Don't. You don't have to. You know why? Because I'm never going to tell you this shit. So any kind of stuff like this, all right, if it's something you don't want coming out when somebody's getting worked with a fucking hose, all right, just don't share that shit. Keep it to yourself. So there, make that easy, okay? But the thing is, don't expect that you're going to hold out forever. Like the rule of thumb is make them fucking work. And if you've got a little something to make your life easier, all right, like they're not giving you food or water for 3 days and you're locked in solitary, give them a little something. Keep yourself alive. That's the point of this. This is a fucking team effort, right? So if you get pinched and rolled up, all right, it's also incumbent on anybody else to say, all right, what, you know, Joe Blow got rolled up. Okay, what does Joe Blow know? What do we need to change? What do we need to adjust? Who needs to move? Okay, this kind of shit. What adjustments need to be made to make sure that when that guy cracks, and crack he will eventually, what kind of adjustments do we need to make? So talking about how to actually resist this kind of shit when it's happening right in front of you, I will tell you that the best resistance tool in the world is just time. All right? This motherfucker is on the clock. All right? He's going to have other fish to fry. A lot of times there will be some kind of a limit of how long a place can hold you. And I mean, this is going to differ country to country, place to place. But a lot of times, I mean, even in Iraq, I think it was like 3 days. If they can't do something with you in 3 days, they got to cut you loose. So you might have just been blowing up, you know, fucking highways or whatever, planting IEDs. But if they got nothing on you in 3 days, then it's going to be like, well, you got to let them go, dude. And that is what it is. So in that sense, yeah, time. But time in terms of you sitting in that room with that dude peppering you. All right, you can just sit there. That might get you a beating. All right, depending on where you are. Sometimes if you're going to have to engage, all right, and you make the call on this, I'm not in your shoes and I'm not your dad. But if you have to engage, what you're gonna want to not be the smart guy, be the dumb guy, be the dumb son of a bitch, all right? Talk slow, mumble, get confused. Oh wait, I didn't understand. So are you saying like, I don't live at like whatever place that you were saying? No, I'm asking why were you at this protest or whatever? No, I don't live there though is what I thought you meant. Like just frustrate the dude, like drag this shit out. There's actually a funny channel on Instagram, and it's called like Scammers Getting Angry or Scammers Getting Mad or some shit. And it's like when like an Indian scammer will call somebody, these people always pick up, and they'll have them like trying to buy gift cards and shit, and they'll talk with them like just a dumb son of a bitch, and they're like, so you want me to scratch off the number, and then what do I do? So what do I buy with this? They're like, no, sir, don't scratch off the number. And he's like, but I scratched it off, so scratch it off. Do you want me to scratch the rest of them? No, sir. And they're just like, they're going nuts, all right? Because they think they're talking to somebody that's just this dumb son of a bitch, like some boomer that's fucking up buying gift cards to pay the IRS or some shit. And it's just in circles, in circles, in circles for an hour, you know? But it's fucking hilarious. So this is what you got to do with these people, right? Like, I don't understand, though, is what you're saying. And then they're going to, you know, they catch you in something. I caught you in a lie, haha. And you're like, but I thought that's what you said. No, I mean, you said it, and I thought I didn't want to argue with you. You know, like, just make it fucking difficult. And I will tell you, this fucking works, because there's people that I had interrogated, like in Iraq. Like, you go to somebody's house, and, you know, like Carlos the fucking Jackal is supposed to be there. And you're talking to people, and you're trying to figure out, and there's like, you know, there'll be some dumbass farmer there, and I know he ain't involved in anything, but the guy is just, you know, and God bless him, he's just so dumb, all right? He doesn't understand anything I'm saying, doesn't understand what I'm getting at, is looking like all wall-eyed and fucking silly, and like, but I didn't do anything, and like, no, dickhead, I'm asking about that guy. I know, but that's why I say it. I don't know him. How can I do something if he is the one, but I don't know. Like, God damn, this sucks. This just is how it is. But the way it ends up panning out, this guy's going to get tired. He's got to walk in there with a plan. You don't really got to do shit. All you got to do is fuck up, all right? All you got to do is beat around the bush and like, yeah, but well, wait. Well, I thought that's what you said. No, I mean, I'm just trying to be cool. I'm not trying to argue with you. All right, so these dudes, they're going to get tired at some point, and they're going to have other people they have to talk to. So the longer you can drag this out, the more you can fuck this up. The more you can oh God, my ass and neck. Could I have some coffee? I get really bad headaches if just something, anything with some caffeine. I'm so slow in the morning. Can you tell me what time it is? Listen, someone's got to check on my mother. That's what's really got me worried. You know, she's very old and alone, and if you could you check on her? Could you at least call? Oh God, right? If you just drag this shit out, it's gonna be like, fuck, dude, I don't want to go in there and talk to this guy. And that's where you want them. All right, they're gonna put on their professional face. They're gonna walk in there and like, all right. And dude, if you've watched any of these like interrogation videos there's a fuck ton of them, like on YouTube or any of these these crime show type things. I mean, these a lot of times, dude, are not skilled people. I mean, they're used to talking to idiots. They're used to talking to people who, you know, depending on your country of origin, they don't know. They're like, dude, just shut up. Just ask for a lawyer. All right, don't sit in there if you did something fucking stupid. Say, no, fuck you, dude. I want a lawyer. All right, you don't have to sit in there and have this battle of wits. Like, that guy's walking in there with a plan. You're walking in here tired, underfed, out of your element with no fucking plan at all. This is not a fair fucking fight. All right. You know, again, depending on where you are, because you might not have that option. I don't know what the rules are in different countries. The way to handle this then is like, give the impression that I'm doing my best to answer your questions. I'm nervous. I'm tired. I don't feel good. I might have this shit. God, I have irritable bowel syndrome. God. All right. This shit will work, dude. That's going to be their perception. They're like, this fucking guy again. I don't want to be in here. and they're going to take the first chance to like, all right, man, fuck that. I got to go to lunch. Let's just wrap it up. Just go back. All right. And the sooner you can get out of there, the better. All right. In terms of like I was talking about, I mean, again, depending on your location, like you might get put in a spot where like, dude, if you don't cough up something, you ain't going to eat. If you don't give us some kind of information, I'm going to put you with the Muslims over there and let them beat you to death. All right, look, if you got my true name and address and I was dumb enough to give it to you, I am not going to ask you to trade your life for my true name and address. Give that shit up, all right? Keep yourself alive. Everybody else has the same obligation. Don't give up some information. Don't share information with anybody in our thing that you're going to want somebody to trade their life for, all right? Don't fucking do that. So if that means like you got to give up, fucking Coffee's true name and address, so they're going to put you in there with these fucking grooming gang Hajis, cough it up, dude. All right, cough it up. Keep yourself alive. But one trick of the trade, and I saw this at SEER school. They had a fucking Vietnam guy. Again, how long ago I was around. Had this Vietnam guy come in, and this guy was talking about the way they would do this shit, and they'd beat him and work him. Like, you're going to sign, you're going to give a fucking confession. And finally, they're like, all right, I'll give a confession. So the way they'd write out their confessions, they'd write it in all fucked up English. They'd write it like, when I was at my sinfulest, I did woefully take to mount to my jet airplane and crimed on the royal people of the Vietnam Republic, or some kind of, this kind of shit. And you know how hard, well, maybe you don't know, I don't know. English is apparently an extremely difficult language to master because there's so many nuances, because it is built of so many different languages. It's built of like Old English. It's essentially a Germanic language. There's the Celtic influence, the Danish influence, all of this shit. So it's an extremely complex language. What that means though is when you write something and it's all fucked up, when you're like, yes, I hated at him, like, people are going to see that and like, yeah, this is obviously coerced. This is obviously fucked up. You go out and make some kind of statement. I criminalistically hatified at him. You talk like you're a ghetto lawyer. Your Honor, I criminalified at him. It is to the displeasurement of the courtitude. And it's going to raise eyebrows, man. But again, this is up to you. These are all just tools for the bag, just to make your life slightly easier. And I mean, yeah, some of it is wacky, but the point is, like, that guy's going in there with a plan. You're going in there with fuck all. All right? The only real name of the game of this is to make his job harder so he can get less out of you. So look, I'm going to have to duck out. The next time that we talk on this shit, maybe we talk through some bailing out, maybe some methods of escaping confinement, escaping custody, if you like, which again, I would never say to do, in a place like America where innocent people are never apprehended and or locked up. So it's not really a question, and remember, this shit's just for laughs, man. Remember to obey all laws, foreign, domestic, fucking local, whatever, dude, fucking whatever. But yeah, and then maybe we talk about like through some bailout ideas, like dipping out the back as the man rolls up in the front. So until next time, feel free to leave this shit wherever you like. Hassle me on Twitter, hassle me on the gram, and until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon, keep your neck out of the noose. I have been Coffee. These are my takes.